Okay, and the final item of business this evening is a members' business debate on motion 16389 in the name of Fulton McGregor on Northern Corridor Community Forum's evidence-based report. The debate will be concluded without any questions being put. I'd invite members wishing to participate in the debate to press the request to speak buttons, and I invite Fulton McGregor to open the debate around 7 minutes. Mr McGregor.
Thank you, Presiding Officer. I firstly want to thank all those across the Chamber who supported my motion, which has allowed it to be heard in the Chamber this evening. The topic of this debate concerns a region in North Lanarkshire that covers about 1/3 of my constituency of Coatbridge and Christen. These several small towns and villages, which include Steps, Muirhead, Christen, Auchinlock, Moodiesburn, Mollinsburn, Glenboig and Gartcosh, collectively are referred to as the Northern Corridor. And within this area, the Northern Corridor Community Forum are an organisation that share their time, skills, expertise and knowledge in an ethos of mutual support to all community organisations across the regions. Last year, the Northern Corridor Community Forum compiled a report which sought to investigate and analyse data related to housing, education, infrastructure, amenities, transport and how these areas may be facing pressures in the face of rapid population growth across the corridor. This evening, I will be commenting on the conclusions of this report and the sentiments of the constituents who live along the Northern Corridor. To some, this evening's debate might seem parochial, but it is the duty of each MSP in this chamber to represent their constituents and ensure that their voices are heard here in their Parliament. The issues that the NCCF raise are similar issues that colleagues across Scotland might receive correspondence on if they represent a constituency or region that has experienced rapid population growth. Ultimately, this report concludes that communities across the Northern Corridor have been and will continue to be overwhelmed by a series of negative impacts that arise for overdevelopment and associated population increases. I want to express on record that the report was keen to stress that the NCCF are not adverse to increased housing development in the area. However, they have raised their concerns consistently over the sustainability of increased housing development and the effect that this will have in the communities, which is something I'm sure that we can all relate to. To examine some of the concerns of the NCCF, we can scrutinise census data from 2021. It was reported that the total population of the collection of villages that make up the Northern Corridor was just short of 30,000 people. This makes the corridor home to more than areas reported living, more than people reported living in areas such as Bellshill, Kilsyth and Shotts, and gives comparable population to Wishaw or even Motherwell. By the very nature of being a collection of villages, unlike the previously mentioned towns, the corridor does not have a physical town centre. A lack of town centre means that there is a lack of town models, action plans and strategies in place for the Northern Corridor as a whole. For members of the Forum and for other residents in the area, there is a feeling that these areas often fall through the cracks. On paper, their homes are part of a network of villages and the amenities and infrastructure represent that. The reality is that the region is now one of the fastest growing areas in the Central Belt, and planning must consider the corridor as a single entity instead of a patchwork of rural villages. It is this point that perhaps causes the most frustration in the communities. While I will not list out each individual infrastructural and facility-based complaint that the Forum have raised over the years, it is the draining myriad of bodies that residents must contact each time they feel there is a problem that needs to be addressed. For example, one accessible train station may be acceptable in a small network of villages, but not for a rapidly growing region of urban sprawl. The number of crossing points and roads around villages may be adequate for lower populations, but a lack of cross points during congested times around school hours have made the corridor a more hazardous time for pupils and other pedestrians in the area. The number of buses that service the area would be very sufficient for a rural region, but the services are currently very lacking for a region with nearly 30,000 people. These are three transport-related issues, and they are issues that, in order to change anything, would require lengthy discussions with separate bodies. They are all issues that I have advocated for on behalf of my constituents, and that's not even touching on the amount of similarly intricate cases I have taken regarding the provision of health, education and leisure centres and facilities. It is second nature to address these in established towns, not so much for areas that on paper appear to be a handful of villages. Late last year, we learned that Scotland's population is rising at the highest rate since the 1940s. Higher populations will require more infrastructure, more facilities and more thoughtful planning. So although the motion this evening concerns one specific area of one specific local authority, I think it is important for all members from all constituencies and regions to engage in the processes to ensure that their views are heard about the direction they'd like their communities to go. The points I have touched on today are issues that I am sure other members have dealt with in their own regions, and I am looking forward to hearing further contributions from my colleagues across the chamber. As I wind down this opening speech, I know residents in the Northern Corridor will be keenly interested to hear how the Scottish Government will take on board the report and give reassurances to these communities that their views will be listened to in future planning decisions. Steps such as introducing provisions for a pre-development community asset and infrastructure audits when an area is identified as being able to accommodate large-scale urban growth would be a way to encourage sustainable growth with minimal effects on existing communities. Likewise, introducing protections for areas considered by its communities to be high-value scenic assets and a risk of the merging of communities would safeguard areas that are prized by their residents and ensure that they are not lost. Another area that could be examined is finding ways to give community boards more powers to raise their concerns. These boards have specialised local knowledge of their communities, and their views should certainly be valued when decisions are being made. And while these recommendations are specific in their nature, I think it all boils down to ensuring that residents of communities are given the opportunity to have meaningful say in how their communities are developed. In light of an increasing Scottish population, we all know that further development is necessary, but we must find a way to address the concerns of many of those in rural areas that development will, with little to no consultation, be imposed on the smaller communities. It is this sentiment that both the Scottish Government and local authorities need to address with future planning. And of course, I would be interested to hear the Minister's response to some of these concerns, either in summing up or in writing at a later date. Presiding Officer, the work and diligence of the members of the Forum have already seen petitions being carried through this Parliament, correspondence with ministers, roundtables attended, meetings with the Planning Improvement Champion, motions recognising their civic leadership, and now a debate here in the Holyrood Chamber. I think it's fair to say that they've now engaged with nearly every civic lever available to them from this Parliament and beyond. So in closing, Presiding Officer, I'd like to once again thank the members of the NCCF for compiling this report, which has given a voice to those in the Northern Corridor who care about their neighbourhoods. The motion that led to this debate was lodged in order to recognise and commend the steady commitment that the members have made to their community for as long as I have been MSP, which is coming up for 9 years. And I would like to mention just a few names. There's far too many to mention, but some key names from the Forum include Isabel Kelly, Alice Morton, Cathy McGinty and Brandon Williams. Presiding Officer, I'll finish up by reiterating the need to ensure that rural communities are taken into account by planners, especially when these communities experience rapid and unprecedented population growth within a mostly urban area. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr McGregor. We move to the open debate. I call first Megan Gallagher, to be followed by Claire Adamson. Around 4 minutes. Ms Gallagher.
Thank you, Presiding Officer, and may I begin by congratulating Fulton McGregor for securing this important debate and bringing it to the Chamber this evening, but also to the Northern Corridor Community Forum, who undertook a lot of work in order to comprise this report to make better changes to their community. And I think that's something that we can all support and all get around as MSPs, because our constituents' voices matter. They matter whether that be within community forum groups who are putting together statistics which are very quite concerning in terms of the lack of infrastructure and other issues that I'm going to get into. But actually it shows that people are passionate about their area. They care deeply about the area in which they live. And I know the member himself is passionate about the area that he represents, raising local issues time and time again in this chamber, and that's something, again, that we can share cross-party. I would have loved to have been able to have seen the report before this evening's debate, but I wasn't able to find that report online. Again, I've had discussions with Fulton McGregor about this directly, so I would be keen if we can have discussions about this offline and see if there is a cross-party way moving forward in which we can look at this issue and address it together collectively as MSPs who represent the same area. But if I can reflect on my time as a councillor, because I fondly fondly remember discussing the Northern Corridor when I was a councillor in North Lanarkshire. And again, that was a range of different unique problems, I would say, in terms of what communities were feeling who live within that Northern Corridor area. And Fulton McGregor hit the nail on the head. It's down to population growth. The number of people now coming into the area through new housing development are, of course, undoubtedly having pressures on infrastructure, whether that be in terms of healthcare, education, or the ability to get down to local shops and make sure that we have that right infrastructure in place within the area itself. Now, I was quite struck by the transport issues that Fulton McGregor raised in terms of accessibility to train stations and lack of bus services within the area. Now, that, of course, is not unique to the Northern Corridor. It's not unique to North Lanarkshire, but it's something I think that the Scottish Government must refocus its efforts on, because there's not only the impact in terms of local people being able to get in and out of an area in which they live or work, but also the journey to net zero, that affordable, just transition, which I'm sure that we are all still focused on in terms of a Parliament collectively. But if I may pick up on another issue that was raised in terms of the housing developments themselves, I was pleased to hear that the Forum, they're not against housing developments, but I think they want a sensible, pragmatic approach in terms of how housing developments come into the area. They must come with the right infrastructure, otherwise they're not going to work for that area itself. But I think if we look at North Lanarkshire as a whole, we've got roughly 14,000 people currently on social waiting lists. I think there is an acknowledgement that we have a housing issue in North Lanarkshire, and we've got to do something collectively, not just as MSPs but as councillors as well within North Lanarkshire Council, to address that. And one of the ways that we could look at doing that, instead of looking at villages that have got a lot of greenbelt, but actually look at brownfield sites, because North Lanarkshire Council is, of course, brownfield site rich. I think it's got roughly about half of the available brownfield sites in Scotland. So it's something that we should be pursuing to take pressure off of villages who cannot cope with substantial housing developments that are going to come into the area. So I think I will, absolutely.
Fulton McGregor.
Thank you, Member, for taking intervention, and I totally agree with that point that she's making. Does she also agree that there is an issue, though, that the greenbelt sites are more attractive to developers than the brownfield sites? And do you think we need to do more in that space in order for builders to want to go to brownfield sites?
Megan Gallagher.
I think the member was reading my mind, Presiding Officer, because I think there is ways to address that. And one of the ways that we could look to address that would be the grant system that's available in England, but not here currently in Scotland, that allows a grant for developers to utilise, to tap into, to treat the land on brownfield sites, making those sites more attractive, and therefore would maybe help with some of the issues that we're experiencing that the member rightly raises. Presiding Officer, I'm well over time, and I don't want to take up the full of the debate, so I will stop there. But if I can just conclude on congratulating Fulton McGregor for bringing this debate to the Chamber again, to the Community Forum for their hard work, and I look forward to reading the report in full when I get the opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr Gallagher. I now call Claire Adamson again. Around 4 minutes, please, Mr Adamson.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and I also thank Fulton McGregor for bringing this debate to the Chamber. He mentioned that some might see this debate as parochial, maybe a bit niche, but nonetheless, I think the points that both he and Megan Gallagher have made about how important it is that MSPs represent their constituents first and foremost, and the involvement in communities and decision-making about them have been well made, and I would concur with those sentiments from both members. And that is the beauty of some of the members' debates we have here. It is about to discuss those niche interests of our communities, tangible issues that impact on our constituents that might not otherwise get attention. And I confess, as the MSP for Motherwell and Wishaw, I'm only adjacent to the Northern Corridor community, but again, as a former North Lanarkshire councillor, I remember very much some of the challenges from that community, and I really do want to pay tribute to those volunteers that take part in community forums, take part in the partnerships around North Lanarkshire, and also the volunteers at community council level that work so hard for their communities, ensuring that the voice of the community is heard in decisions about them. And we know that we face huge demographic challenges in Scotland, an ageing population, and we need to encourage population growth in order to maintain a tax base and to protect and enhance our public services and to bring the rich benefits of migration to Scotland. These demographic challenges are real and immediate, and they demand our collective attention. It's interesting to note, though, that issues that are perceived as particular to communities due to overdevelopment can impact so strongly on those communities. I know that the points made by the Northern Corridor Community Forum resonate with me following proposed change to the boundaries in North Lanarkshire. I may well have been representing the Northern Corridor at one point with the Boundary Commission proposals that came out, and it's a decision that would have taken in shots and areas of Airdrie constituency into my constituency, completely ignoring the fact that it was a motorway that ran across that area, and that for those relying on public transport and train services would have to get to see that an MSP or MP based in Airdrie would have to have gone through Motherwell and back out again, although geographically they were very close. And that's why we have to be very cognisant of what makes a community and how they have grown together and what boundaries they have, both geographical and community-based in our constituencies. So I'm very pleased that this has been brought to the attention of the Parliament this evening. I was born in Motherwell and grew up in Wishaw, and I'm intimately familiar with the links of those close communities and the challenges that we have. We're about to have a major infrastructure road go through the centre of Motherwell, which will impact on residents while that's been developed, and also perhaps change some of the geographic locations that form the communities in my area, given that it's going to be a major trunk road linking the two motorway, the M74 and the M8 through the constituency. So all of these things have an impact, and the most important thing is that the communities that are impacted have a voice, not just in their community forum, and I commend the work that's been done in this report, and also in the council, but also that their voice is a voice in this Parliament, where we have the ability as elected representatives to represent our communities. So thank you very much, Presiding Officer.
Thank you very much, Ms Adamson. And now call on Tom Arthur to respond to the debate. Minister, around 7 minutes, please.
Thank you very much, Presiding Officer, and can I congratulate Fulton McGregor on securing this debate and thank members in the Chamber for their contribution this evening, and to also recognise the work of the Northern Corridor in raising these substantive issues and the way we are working together. And I would want to echo the comments that members have made, is that while the focus of this debate may be on a very specific geography, the issues raised are applicable to all our communities, because we do have a reflexive relationship with our communities. We are shaped by our communities, and in turn, as active citizens, we play a role in shaping our communities, which in turn will shape generations to come. Now, turning to the substance of the matters that have been considered this evening, as members will appreciate, it would not be appropriate for the Scottish Government to endorse any particular view or position on, for example, a local development plan. It is, of course, for the Planning Authority to take into account all of the views and evidence submitted to them as they prepare their local development plan. Our guidance on good practice and community engagement is clear, but planning authorities should involve communities in the creation of evidence reports, and this report shows, the report that we're considering this evening, shows that communities are keen to engage. I understand that work is ongoing by North Lanarkshire Council to prepare the evidence report which precedes the preparation of the new local development plan for their area. So I therefore cannot comment on the substance of this report, as the evidence report that the Council prepares will be subject to independent scrutiny later this year by Scottish Government reporters. Yes, certainly.
Megan Gallagher.
I thank the Minister for giving way. And again, I think this has been a really important debate. We need to build more homes. We are in a housing emergency. One of the ways that we can do that is by accelerating the regeneration of our towns and town centres. This would surely give more living spaces. There would be more areas for developers to come in and build homes, which would create that new dynamic, taking pressure off of villages that Fulton McGregor rightly mentioned in his opening speech. Is that something that the Minister is steadfast in doing to try and tackle the housing emergency?
Minister.
Absolutely, and let me recognise the sterling work that Megan Gallagher is taking forward as convener of the cross-party group on towns and town centres. There is substantive work that the Government is engaged in partnership with COSLA through the Town Centre Forum on this very agenda. Indeed, it is something where there's active discussions across government, because we recognise that town centres provide a valuable opportunity for realising and achieving a number of policy objectives, not only in housing and increasing the availability of residential units, but by increasing the population density of our town centres, we support retail, hospitality and thriving places. And indeed, I had the opportunity just last week to visit Claire Adamson's constituency in Motherwell, where I saw through a number of different funding streams backed by the Scottish Government, working in partnership with the local authority, the former YMCA building and an adjacent vacant site have been brought into use, providing valuable new residential accommodation. So that is an example of where town centre regeneration can make a significant contribution towards addressing the housing emergency. I would want to, however, offer a number of observations, Presiding Officer, on the extensive work which the Community Forum has undertaken, as this helps to illustrate the direction our planning system has taken in recent years. Firstly, the communities themselves have acknowledged that our planning system has changed considerably in recent years with the 2019 Planning Act and, of course, the introduction of National Planning Framework 4, which I had the privilege of launching in February of 2023. 2 years on, we are seeing positive change from NPF 4, with a recognition that there should be a plan-led approach to housing and infrastructure delivery, rather than planning by appeal. Secondly, the report under consideration this evening highlights the challenges with infrastructure that go hand in hand with providing new homes. Those communities have been clear that they do support housing development, as we have heard this evening, but they rightly want to ensure that homes are built in sustainable locations and are served by infrastructure and facilities that people depend on a day-to-day basis. Policy 15 on local living and 20-minute neighbourhoods in NPF 4 supports this, recognising that places have to work for the people that live there. What that looks like in different types of places is for planning authorities to work out, and can usefully be informed by feedback like this that we're considering this evening from communities. NPF 4 Policy 18 also requires new local development plans to take an infrastructure-first approach to development. Plans should be informed by evidence on infrastructure capacity and needs, set out requirements for the future, and indicate how developer contributions will be used to support delivery. This is not easy, but it is crucial that spatial strategies make best use of existing capacity as far as possible to minimise the financial impacts on both the public and private sector. Planning authorities are working hard on this, but only time will tell how it plays out in practice. And thirdly, the report reflects the importance of place and the crucial role that people play in shaping their towns and neighbourhoods. Good planning depends on having a good understanding of what makes each place unique, and no one is better placed to explain that than local people. And I welcome this debate because it really is people who make the planning system work. These communities have worked hard to gather views and evidence about their place, and they highlight challenges and opportunities which are at the heart of our planning system. Local development plans have a tough job to do. They cannot please everyone, and as the communities themselves acknowledge, local authorities do not have limitless funding available to them for new facilities and infrastructure. Local development plans will therefore have to be realistic about what is possible and will need to find creative solutions to place making. I will conclude by again thanking Fulton McGregor for highlighting the importance of an inclusive approach to planning and placemaking. I would also like to recognise the considerable thought, time and effort which the communities of the Northern Corridor have put into engaging with the planning process. Our planning system is designed to be inclusive. Everyone should have an opportunity to contribute their views so that plans are based on sound information and insights from local people. And I have no doubt that this community forum will continue to engage with the North Lanarkshire Local Development Plan as it continues to take shape.
Thank you very much, Minister. That concludes the debate and I close this meeting of Parliament.